Welcome back. All right, so time to list my favorite Dallas Stars. Now, I split up the Dallas Stars and the Minnesota North Stars. So these are my favorite Dallas Stars. The Minnesota North Stars get their own video as well, which will be the next one in this series. And I made sure that neither list has the same name twice because I always think that makes it more fun. In terms of honorable mentions for Dallas, I'll say Darcy Wakaluk had one of the most fun names of any player ever. And of course, he was a goaltender. And for the Minnesota North Stars, I would say Kari Taco was one that had a great name too. Kari Taco, you know I wanted him to succeed at the National Hockey League level. Didn't work. Same with Darcy Wakaluk, but Wakaluk had a couple good seasons in there. Does not make the top 20. Also not in the top 20 is Jamie Benn. Just for me personally, I do not have Jamie Benn in the top 20. Let's get into my top 20 Dallas Stars, starting with goaltender Ben Bishop. I have a feeling that if not for his career being shortened due to injury, that Bishop would probably be higher on the list. But Bishop comes in at 20th. That being said, if not for his injury, if in 2020 he'd been the starting goaltender, does Dallas get to the final if it's Ben Bishop? And I think that's a valid question to ask because there were games along the way there that Anton Hudobin absolutely stole. Number 19 on the list. The recently retired Joe Pavelski. Joe Pavelski really, really impressed me with his time in Dallas. I liked him in San Jose, loved him in Dallas. I was quite happy to have him on the team. And it's a shame that he retired, but I mean, he was due. Joe Pavelski comes in at number 19th on the list. I do have a feeling with Pavelski as well that if he'd been a star his entire career, he'd probably be top 3 on the list. Number 18. Player that I've talked a lot about and I've liked for a while, Stu Barnes. This is where I'll remind people who want to talk about how it's not all of the big names and everything on my favorites list. That's not how my favorites work. It's just not. So welcome to the channel. For people who are long-term subscribers, they know that it's not necessarily the big star players that I root for. And Stu Barnes, he worked hard. He could play a top 6 role at times. He was more suited to the third line through most of his career. But he was around for a long time. I like Barnes a lot. And there you go. Number 17 on the list. Defenseman who's currently on the team. Esa Lindell. Lindell's been quite good for Dallas for a long time. I do love his defensive game. Honestly, the blue line in Dallas is something this year. We'll see how it all turns out, but I do like the blue line that's been put together by the Dallas Stars over the last few years and going forward as well. And so Esa Lindell is a big part of the reason why they're successful at keeping pucks out of their own net. Number 16. Tyler Seguin. Seguin, after coming over from Boston, excellent numbers for him. He's a Vancouver trip away from the triumvirate, right? Where I could say he played for all 3 of my favorite teams. It's rare, but it does happen that a player I like plays for all 3 teams, or just a player in general plays for all 3 teams. But Tyler Seguin at number 16 on the list. At this point, his contract doesn't look great. He's coming off of a year where he missed most of the season due to injury. But when he's healthy, he's still quite effective. And so Sagan's number 16 on the board. Number 15. Well, he was on the Boston list. He kind of has to be on the Dallas list, and that's Andy Moog. I was so happy when Andy Moog went from Boston to Dallas, much like with Seguin. I'm usually pretty happy when teams I root for make trades with one another. Generally, not always, but generally. And in this case, Moog, whose time in Boston was done, he went to Dallas, and he had a pretty good run in Dallas as well. And one thing about Andy Moog that I liked a lot as I was growing up and even as an adult is masks. Andy Moog's masks were always fantastic. So number 15, Andy Moog. That's not why he's number 15. It doesn't hurt. It's not why he's 15th on the list, though. 14th, and probably going to skyrocket the next time I do a video like this, Wyatt Johnston. Wyatt Johnston, dynamic forward, excellent overall skill level. His future is very, very bright. He was clearly a steal for the Dallas Stars in that draft. And I think fans are happy with Johnston. I think the Stars organization's quite happy with Johnston, and rightfully so. All right, number 13, is the goalie who definitely benefited from Bishop's injury. Anton Hudobin. So Anton Hudobin just retired very, very recently. And I was a fan of Hudobin for a simple reason. At points in time where he could have said, I'll just head over to Europe, he didn't necessarily do that. Hudobin kept the NHL dream alive throughout his career and battled his way through adversity along the way. Where maybe he had a bad year in one location, ends up somewhere else, but he was able to get himself going. And in 2020, takes Dallas all the way to the Stanley Cup final, kind of out of nowhere. And Hudobin did pretty well. He usually did pretty well, and he cashed in pretty well off of that, too. He ended up with a pretty good contract from Dallas, and I can't really complain about that because they did get to the final in 2020. He earned that money. Number 12, another current player who will likely move up. So, Jason Robertson, this past season was a good year. Not a fantastic year by his standards, but still a good year. And Robertson's off years are still better than most other players' good years. So, Robertson, love his speed, love his dedication to the game, and his overall skill level. I don't know how much longer he's going to be a Dallas Star with all the rumors that are out there. I hope the fact that there's rumors everywhere, it turns out nothing's going to happen. I'd be quite happy about that. Robertson's number 12 and likely moves up the next time I do a list like this, depending on how much longer he's in Dallas, but I hope to keep him around. Number 11, Ulf Dahlin. So, hardworking, good two-way forward, and there's a lot of European players that I like. The guys who come over and play well like Dahlin, I usually end up rooting for. Ulf Dahlin was one of my favorite members of the team, honestly. Number 11 on the list. I was kind of surprised he wasn't higher. I did go over this list a couple of times, but I felt like Ulf Dahlin belonged at 11. I should mention a couple honorable mentions as well. Guy Carbonneau and Daryl Sador. Honorable mentions to both. Guy Carbonneau became a key part of the team and then a key part of the organization after his retirement. And who knows if you win a Stanley Cup in 99. And if they didn't throw the Stanley Cup in Guy Carbonneau's pool in 99, whose pool would they have thrown the cup into? Of course, it got dented because that's what happens, but they did throw it. Number 10, one of those stories with the cup. Number 10, Brendan Morrow. Brendan Morrow, very consistent, excellent effort all the way through, top 6 forward. I don't really have any complaints about Brendan Morrow. Never did. He was very reliable. You knew what you were going to get from him. And, yeah, I felt like top 10 was the right spot for him. Number 9. So, in speaking about the Stanley Cup hit in the water back in the day, without Joe Nieuwendyk on the team, without that trade for Joe Nieuwendyk, did they win the Stanley Cup? My answer to that is probably not. Nieuwendyk was a big part of that. The 99 run was great. That got him his second Stanley Cup ring. He already had one from Calgary. And Nieuwendyk was an excellent top forward in the game. I think he was a bit underrated because there were a lot of goal scorers in the NHL. It was easy for one to get underrated. I think Nieuwendyk was underrated in his time, and so he's 9th on the list. 8th on the list, another defenseman, and a current defenseman on the team as well. Miro Heiskanen has become an absolute favorite of mine. I've talked in videos recently about how I sometimes think of a player and think, so do I yell at the TV for something stupid they did? In Miro's case, I can't recall yelling at the TV for anything stupid he's done. I'm impressed with this game. I hope that he's able to play a full season coming up. He says he's 100% healthy. He's excited about the Olympics. And all of that's music to my ears. If Dallas is going to win a Stanley Cup at some point, stop laughing. If Dallas is going to win a Stanley Cup at some point, they're going to need Miro to be healthy to get there. Number 7. Another goaltender. Marty Turco was one of the most underrated goaltenders when he was at his peak. There was a lot of negativity towards Turco for his playoff performances. It wasn't Turco's playoff performance that was a problem. It was a Dallas team that was very mid, and it showed up once you got to the playoffs. They just weren't good enough. Turco was not a miracle worker, wasn't able to get them very far in the playoffs, but if you look at his playoff numbers, they were fine. I was not Turco. I was floored a couple of years there with fans. Oh, Turco sucks, and he's never. It's like it's not Turco. So I liked him a lot. He waited his turn until Ed Belfour moved along. Belfour's not on this list either, so this is a list that I know is going to throw some people off. But Belfour's not on my list either. I know he was the goaltender in '99 for the Stanley Cup. Number 6. It's where the whole greatest versus favorites comes in. And the goaltender at number 6 kind of proves that as well. I have been a fan of Jake Ottinger's the whole way through. When Dallas had him in the minors, and there was some panic, I saw from a couple of fans online about Ottinger and why is he in the minors, and Dallas needs to bring him up, and I was like, Otter will be fine. And sure enough, he's been fine. Ottinger's a very well-paid goaltender at this point. He's earned that. And I love Ottinger's game, and if the Stars are going to win a Stanley Cup, not only do they need a healthy Heiskanen, they need a healthy Jake Ottinger as well, and for him to play as well as I know he can. I know what Edmonton's record is against him. I know what that looks like, but there's always a team that's a nemesis for a goaltender. That might be an interesting video to do at some point this summer too, is on teams that were nemesis to certain goaltenders. But Jake Ottinger at number 6 for me personally. Number 5. Defenseman Sergei Zubov. The '99 Stanley Cup probably doesn't happen without Zubov either. Zubov was an excellent offensively minded defenseman primarily, but he wasn't a slouch defensively either. And that was a Dallas team that, I really liked that Dallas '99 team. I know what they're remembered for. I remember Brett Hull's skate in the crease. Brett Hull's not in the top 20 either. So, like I said, my top 20 ends up being quite different from what other top 20s might be for fans, but I think that's what makes it fun. And Zubov's in the top 5. That's kind of fun, isn't it? You mean no? Number 4. Another defenseman. Darian Hatcher. I guess I could give Kevin Hatcher an honorable mention, but he wasn't a Dallas Star for that long. But Darian Hatcher was. Hatcher was a Minnesota North Star as well, so I could have had him on both lists, but I just have him on this one. Darian Hatcher, one of my favorite Dallas Stars at the time. He was a captain, physical, good defensively, better offensively than I think he got credit for at the time. But Darian Hatcher, he could throw hits, and when him and Kevin were together on Dallas, didn't last that long, but it was a fun time. Number 3. Yuri Lehtinen. Yuri Lehtinen, a very good forward who won. He won. I think it was. Did he win one Selke Trophy or 2? Either way, Lehtinen ends up being an excellent defensive forward mostly, but he had some offense to his game as well. Not going to be a Hall of Famer. Obviously, if he was going to get to the Hall of Fame, what happened by now, and the numbers just wouldn't back it up. As good as he was as a defensive forward, there's not enough there for him to be Hall of Fame level. I think I put him in the THG Hall of Fame, if I remember correctly. But either way, Yuri Lehtinen had a very good career with the Dallas Stars, and it was sad when he left. Number 2. Okay, who did I give number 2? There we go. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it has to be, doesn't it? If I did not have Jamie Langenbrunner on this list, there would be people saying this list is false. It's false because Shannon's favorite player was Jamie Langenbrunner, wasn't it? Jamie Langenbrunner, not just fun to say the name, but, man, his game was so fun to watch. At his peak, he was great. And then he went to New Jersey. He was great for them, too. To this day, I still don't have a Devils jersey with a name on the back other than my Clarkson. But if I was going to get a name on the back of a Devils jersey, it would be Langenbrunner. That'd be a fun video, too. Which name I would get on the back of a jersey if I was getting one and I could get any. It'd have to be a past player. But yeah, Langenbrunner would be the pick for Dallas. Which means when that video happens, don't spoil it for everybody. Number 1. I kind of made this one obvious at the start of the video because I think it's quite clear that if you're a Dallas fan, Mike Modano kind of has to be the guy. So while I do not necessarily have all of everybody else's favorites on my list of top 20, yeah, Modano's number one. Modano, huge star for a long time. When Minnesota went to Dallas, he didn't skip a beat. We've seen with Arizona's switch over to Utah that there are certain players who their game moved up to that next level. There's other ones that have had their struggles. So not every player necessarily handles that move to a new location well. Modano, it was seamless. It was pretty darn near seamless. And I think he was the best player they had and their captain as well on top of that. So Modano has to be number one on any list of 20 Dallas Stars if we're talking about all-time favorites. So there you go. My 20 all-time favorite Dallas Stars. You guys can speculate on my favorite Minnesota North Stars. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It's greatly appreciated. I will talk to you again soon.